Supergirl, the latest comic book adaptation from Warner Brothers and DC Studios, falling short of expectations its first week out, earning less than $50 million domestically so far, and now could potentially lose $100 million, according to Variety. The flop raising questions ahead of what's usually a summer blockbuster weekend. Can America not handle female superheroes, or is there something else going on?
Well, there's something else going on because it's clear that Americans love well-written female action heroes or heroines. We love them. Sigourney Weaver in the Alien franchise. Angelina Jolie in the Tomb Raider franchise. She played Lara Croft, right? Here lately, you've got Wonder Woman, played by Gal Gadot, and then you have Captain Marvel. I forget the young lady's name who plays Captain Marvel, but they were box office successes. So look, don't try. Hollywood's going to try to make this all about the oppression Olympics. No. When we've been presented, we being the public, have been presented with well-written characters, we've eaten it up. All right. The other thing is this. Look, Supergirl, it's really not a franchise that has done well cinematically in the past. 1984, you had Helen Slater, who played Supergirl. They spent $35 million to make that movie, and it grossed $14 million. It was a box office flop. So if you get a Supergirl outside of the context or outside of a movie that Superman is in, it typically hasn't done well. Now, why is that? It doesn't have anything to do with misogyny. It's just that the comic book genre has, from an audience standpoint, been male dominated. Okay? Most young ladies, when they were little girls, they weren't buying comic books. So guys were buying these books, seeing these characters like Batman, Superman, Iron Man, Thor as aspirational. Okay? And so that translation of an aspirational figure did not carry over into the female heroines. So those books, those titles, Wonder Woman, for example, were never as big as the male character titles. And it's just the way it is, okay? So when you have a standalone movie like Supergirl, we've proven back in 1984 that, it does better as a TV show. And they did have a TV show called Supergirl, ran for several seasons, right? Maybe that's the extent of what that character can demand.
Her performance in a vacuum is fantastic. It's just unfortunate that the movie itself is a vacuum.
Coming after last year's reboot of Superman, Supergirl follows his lesser-known cousin, Kara Zor-El, played by actress Millie Alcock.
My cousin and I have very different ideas about what it means to be a hero.
The production, and Alcock facing flack before its release, with some fans making fun of Alcock's appearance online. Even former Superman actor Dean Cain replying he laughed at the insults.
And there's been immense scrutiny, not about her ability to play the character or about her performance, but of her appearance, which simply doesn't happen in the same way for male actors in this space.
That's a lie, because when Daniel Craig, when they announced that he was going to play James Bond, oh man, that guy got savaged. They said he was the blonde Bond and it didn't make any sense. And they even compared his looks to the little creature on Lord of the Rings, the little creature that was always after the ring. They said Daniel Craig looked like that. Then Daniel Craig went on to play James Bond. He did a hell of a job, right? So this lady is trying to make it seem like, Millie Alcock is getting this criticism of her looks. We've never seen that before. It's just happening because she's a woman. That's a lie. Even the guy who, the latest guy to play Superman, okay, the guy here on the left, he got criticism because they were like, that guy doesn't look like Superman. Look at Henry Cavill there on the right. Look at that chiseled jaw. Good God Almighty, he looks like Superman, right? So actors and actresses receiving criticism for their looks is hardly anything new. Now, for my money, I think Millie Alcock, she's a nice looking woman, okay? And part of the Supergirl theme in this latest movie where she was getting really gritty with her character. She was fighting and beating people up and stuff and getting dirty. And so, you had that. But in terms of the girl's looks, she's a nice looking young lady.
The actress telling Vanity Fair that her role on the Game of Thrones prequel House of the Dragon prepared her for some of the hate, saying, quote, simply existing as a woman in that space is something that people comment on, adding, quote, we have become very comfortable having this weird ownership of women's bodies.
No. Now, Millie Alcock, you've got to take some responsibility for some of the things that you've said that have alienated fans. Supergirl actress mocks critics, says a lot of them are Christian dads. She says that derisively, right? Yeah, a lot of them are Christian dads. Millie, what's wrong with that, right? Goes on to say it's a form, and it's from a lot of people whose profiles have no photo, who are burner accounts. Now, the young lady that played Snow White here recently, God, I forget her name. Anyway, Rachel Zegler, she came out and criticized fans of that franchise, right? These movie companies are doing a very poor job of preparing these stars to interact with the public. Remember when movie stars used to come out and they would just talk about the movie? Here she is talking about misogyny and women's spaces and all this other stuff and Christian dads. And that's not selling the movie, lady. All right. And you would think, you'd be wrong. You would think that these stars like Millie Alcock, like even the guy who played Flash, whatever his name is, he's out of here now in terms of his career. Rachel Zegler, you would think that they would say, you know what, this movie's got to do well because my career is tied to this, right? And I don't want it to flop because I don't want Hollywood to get the idea that I'm not a bankable commodity here, right? But no, they lead with all of this woke BS, and it leads right to box office flops.
Comments and the growing chorus of critics setting up a debate about misogyny and the current state of media. It's been decades since Xena Warrior Princess. But female heroes haven't quite slayed at the box office.
All of the standalone girl movies are not good and not well handled, and that's a real bummer.
Right, they're not good. Okay? Write some good. You don't even have to have the level of special effects that you might get from one of these big budget movies. If you write it well, that leads,
Superhero movies dominating over the past 2 decades. There are really only 2 with heroine leads, Wonder Woman in 2017 and Captain Marvel in 2019, that were commercial hits.
Yeah, in the last few years. But again, we've had plenty of female-led franchises that and standalone movies very well back when Hollywood knew how to write prior to 2015.
But once Supergirl hit theaters, other narratives emerged. It earned a rotten rating, slammed for its writing, with one popular reviewer calling Supergirl a, quote, heroine rendered powerless by scriptonite. And audiences generally haven't been gravitating to superhero films quite as much in recent years, no longer dominating the silver screen like they did just a few years ago when Avengers Endgame shattered records with a $1.2 billion global debut. And Black Panther brought Marvel one of its best opening weekends ever.
This ends today.
Now the conversation is more about superhero fatigue than soaring successes. Last year, only 2 superhero movies broke into the top 10 at the domestic box office. A big flip from just 5 years back when action flicks grabbed the top 4 spots, including Black Widow, which squeaked into the pandemic-depressed leaderboard.
If the superhero genre is going to continue, it has to be better than this.
With some highly anticipated superhero releases on the horizon, time will tell if a woman hero will swoop in and save the day.
And again, they lead with the woman hero thing. This is NBC, so nothing but coonery. So you understand where they're coming from. It's not about that. It's about a couple of things here. Number one is superhero fatigue, and they did allude to that, right? People are just, come on, man. How much more of this can we do, right? It's about superhero fatigue. We keep on producing these movies. How many times can you save the universe? All right. It's just like Star Wars and Star Trek nowadays. There's too much of it. We started this whole superhero genre, the modern superhero genre, back in 1998 with Blade, played by Wesley Snipes. That movie proved the concept, proved if you did it right, you could make money with the superhero genre. 2003, we had X-Men, and from there on out, you've had 20 solid years of this genre dominating the box office. Okay. You can't go to the movies and see a comedy like Tropic Thunder anymore. They won't allow that because comedy has, the left has killed comedy. You can't offend anybody anymore. And the writing on these, you find fan fiction on YouTube that is better than what these Hollywood studios are producing these days. So look, I'm never going to see this movie. I didn't watch the last Superman movie. I'm sick and tired of superheroes. All right, Endgame was the last superhero movie I watched. Guys, it's time to grow up, okay? All of these 40-year-old men taking Captain America's shields to the movie theater with them, or a bunch of black folk dressing up like they are from Wakanda. It's over, all right? It's time to move on. Can we get back to some historical dramas, good comedies that offend everyone? We've done the superhero thing. Enough is enough.